My friends, let us sit for a moment and breathe. You see, life is not a puzzle to be solved, nor a war to be won. It is quite simply a river to be sailed. And yet many of us, with all our might, try to control the flow, to dam the current. We live in a world where we are taught to believe that we must seize every moment, that life demands we control the river. But the moment you grab hold of that illusion of control, my friends, you open a door. And through that door, the demons of anxiety, of fear, of suffocation come rushing in. This sets the tone, introducing the idea of controlling life and the metaphor of doors through which negative forces can enter. We live in a world that teaches us to control, to organize, to manage. From the moment we wake up in the morning until the time we lay our heads down at night, we are conditioned to believe that if we just keep everything in order, everything will be okay. We think if we can just manage our jobs, our relationships, our finances, and our emotions, we will have peace. But there is a great misunderstanding at the core of this. This belief that we must control every aspect of our lives is an illusion. In fact, it is this very belief that opens the first door for the demons of anxiety and fear to enter. When you think about control, you might imagine a ship captain at the helm, steering the vessel through rough waters. But what happens when you grip the wheel too tightly? What happens when you try to force the ship in a direction that is not in harmony with the natural flow of the ocean? The ship begins to struggle. It doesn't move fluidly, it fights against the waves, against the very current that could carry it forward. It becomes a battle. The same is true for our lives. When we hold on too tightly, when we demand control, we only create friction with the flow of life. And with this friction comes resistance. And with resistance comes fear. This illusion of control breeds a false sense of security. We believe that if we have everything figured out, if we know exactly what will happen next, we can avoid the chaos of life. But life is not meant to be figured out. It is not meant to be controlled. Life is not a problem to be solved, it is an experience to be lived. The more we try to control it, the more we separate ourselves from the reality of it. We stop living in the moment and start living in fear of what might happen, what could go wrong, or what we might lose. The more we seek control, the more we feel powerless in the face of the unpredictability of life. The demons of anxiety and fear slip through the cracks of our over-grasping need for control. Anxiety comes from the belief that we must manage everything perfectly. We worry about the future, we plan for every possibility, and we try to control the uncontrollable. But no matter how much we plan, life does not guarantee outcomes. It is not a blueprint to be followed. And the more we try to control life's unpredictable nature, the more we live in fear of what we can't control. Fear, too, feeds off this illusion of control. When we try to control something that cannot be controlled, we are simply setting ourselves up for disappointment. This fear manifests in countless ways: fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of what others think. But these fears are all born from the same root, the belief that we must control our circumstances in order to feel safe. It is this belief that opens the first door to the demons that haunt our lives. But what if you let go? What if you surrendered to the natural flow of life? What if you stopped trying to steer the ship and simply allowed it to sail with the currents? The moment you release your grip, you free yourself from the anxiety and fear that come from trying to control the uncontrollable. It's not about giving up, it's about accepting the uncertainty, embracing the chaos, and trusting that life will unfold as it is meant to. The more you try to control, the more you distance yourself from the present moment, from the essence of life itself. When you let go, when you stop forcing things into place, you align yourself with the flow of life. You stop fighting and start living. And this doesn't mean you don't take action. It doesn't mean you stop planning, or stop striving, or stop making decisions. What it means is that you stop trying to force outcomes. You trust in the natural unfolding of things. You trust that, even in moments of uncertainty, there is a greater wisdom at work. The river will find its way, even if you don't always know where it's headed. In letting go of the need to control, you close the door to anxiety, fear, and frustration. You make space for peace, for trust, and for the joy that comes from embracing life as it is. The flow of life is not something to be feared or controlled. It is something to be experienced fully and completely. When you surrender to the flow, you open yourself up to the beauty of the present moment, to the magic that is always right here, right now. In letting go, you realize that the journey is the destination, and the present moment is the only place where life truly happens. So let go of the need to control. Close the door to the demons of anxiety and fear. Open the door to the flow of life. When you do, you will find that the peace you seek is not found in control, but in the willingness to surrender to the beauty and unpredictability of the journey. We often find ourselves tethered to the past, weighed down by memories, mistakes, and regrets. These things, though they are no longer part of the present moment, seem to have a grip on us that can feel as though they are alive, like ghosts haunting our every step. We carry them with us, as though they are a part of who we are, and we believe that we need to hold on to them in order to understand ourselves, to make sense of our lives. But in truth, the more we hold on to the past, the more we prevent ourselves from moving forward. The second door that opens to the demons of stagnation, sorrow, and regret is the door of attachment to the past. This attachment, this clinging to what was, is an illusion that keeps us locked in a cycle of limitation. The past is something that has already been lived. It is something that cannot be changed, no matter how much we dwell on it. Yet we continue to revisit it, as if we can somehow alter what has already happened. We replay our mistakes over and over in our minds, wondering what we could have done differently. We fixate on relationships that have ended or opportunities we missed. We hold on to the belief that by rethinking these past moments we can somehow rewrite our history, but this is nothing more than a mental trap, a way of holding ourselves captive in a prison of our own making. When we attach ourselves to the past, we allow it to define us. We begin to see ourselves through the lens of what has happened rather than what is possible. We become so focused on the past that we stop looking forward. The past can become like a heavy weight that drags us down, preventing us from reaching for the things that lie ahead. We stop seeing the opportunities in front of us because we are too focused on what we've already lost. We let the mistakes of yesterday inform our actions today, fearing that we might repeat them. This fear and regret keep us locked in a place of stagnation, where we feel stuck, unable to move forward. But the past is not something that should govern us. It is not a reflection of who we are in this moment. Our true selves are not defined by our mistakes or our past experiences. In fact, our true selves are defined by our ability to grow, to change, and to evolve. The person you were yesterday is not the person you are today. You are constantly shifting, constantly learning, and constantly moving toward new possibilities. The past, in its many forms, may shape the lessons you've learned, but it does not have to dictate who you become. When we stop clinging to the past, we free ourselves from the chains that bind us. Letting go of the past doesn't mean we forget it, or that we stop learning from it. It simply means that we stop allowing it to control us. The past is a series of experiences, yes, but it is not the sum total of who we are. To keep holding on to past mistakes, past relationships, past failures, is to allow those things to have power over us. When we attach ourselves to these things, we give them permission to shape our future. But we must remember we are not bound to the past. We are free to move forward, to create a new story, to write a new chapter. Closing this door requires us to release the past with compassion. It requires us to understand that the past no longer serves us in the present. We do not need to carry the weight of every decision or event that has occurred before. Each moment offers us a fresh opportunity to redefine ourselves, to begin again. When we release our attachment to the past, we make space for the future, for new growth, and for new experiences. It is only when we let go that we can embrace what is to come. The demons of regret, sorrow, and fear that invade our lives through attachment to the past lose their power when we realize that the past does not define us. When we let go, we stop being prisoners of yesterday and we start becoming creators of tomorrow. The past is gone, and we are free to move forward, to live in the present, to embrace the unknown that lies ahead. It is through letting go of the past that we step into our fullest potential. So close this door. Let go of what was. Do not let the shadows of yesterday haunt you any longer. Open yourself up to the freedom that comes from releasing the grip of the past. In doing so, you will find that life is not something that happened to you, but something that is happening right now. The present moment is where your power lies, and it is only when we free ourselves from the past that we can truly step into the fullness of who we are meant to be. The third door that the demons use to invade our lives is the door of fear of the unknown. This fear is perhaps one of the most insidious because it keeps us locked in cycles of stagnation, unable to move forward. It feeds off our resistance to change, to uncertainty, to the idea that we cannot control what lies ahead. We become so terrified of the unknown that we end up stuck in situations, relationships, or jobs that no longer serve us simply because they are familiar, because they are known. The fear of stepping into the unknown is a powerful force that traps us in a box of our own making, a box where we limit ourselves from discovering new possibilities, new experiences, and new versions of ourselves. The unknown is, by its very nature, something we cannot predict, and it is this unpredictability that causes us to shrink away from it. We try to create structures, plans, and safety nets that will cushion us from the discomfort of uncertainty. We tell ourselves that if we can just know what will happen next, we will feel secure. But in doing so, we are not truly living. We are simply trying to exist in a false sense of security that doesn't allow for growth or transformation. The unknown is where life happens. It is where new experiences, new opportunities, and new ways of being exist. When we resist the unknown, we are resisting life itself. The fear of the unknown is rooted in the belief that we need to have control over everything. It is the belief that we need to have all the answers, that we need to be prepared for every possible scenario. But the truth is, no matter how much we plan, no matter how much we try to predict the future, life will always be unpredictable. The more we try to control the unknown, the more we limit ourselves. We stop seeing it as a space of possibility and start seeing it as a threat. We become paralyzed by the very thing that should be a source of wonder and opportunity. But what if we let go of that fear? What if we accepted that we cannot know everything, and that this is not only okay, but essential for growth? The unknown is not a void that threatens us, but a field of endless potential. It is in the unknown that we encounter new people, new ideas, and new paths that we never could have imagined. By embracing the unknown, we open ourselves to the beauty and magic that comes with stepping into the unfamiliar. When we face the unknown with curiosity instead of fear, we begin to see it as a place of adventure. We see that it is not something to fear, but something to explore. This shift in mindset is powerful because it transforms our relationship with change. Change is no longer something that happens to us, it becomes something we choose, something we seek out. Instead of being paralyzed by the idea of change, we begin to embrace it. We see that growth and transformation are natural parts of life, and that without stepping into the unknown, we would never discover who we are capable of becoming. The demons of stagnation and fear can only find their way in when we refuse to step into the unknown. When we cling to the familiar, to the known, we stop growing. We stay trapped in the same place, repeating the same patterns, unable to break free from the cycle. The unknown is where transformation happens. It is where we encounter challenges that force us to evolve, to expand our capacity, to see the world and ourselves in a different light. It is in the unknown that we find the courage to become something more than we are right now. The key to closing this door is trust. It is trust in life, trust in the process, and trust in ourselves. When we trust that we have the ability to handle whatever comes our way, we stop fearing the unknown. We begin to understand that uncertainty is not a sign of danger, but an invitation to grow. Trust is the antidote to fear. It is the belief that even in the face of uncertainty, we are capable of navigating the twists and turns of life. When we trust ourselves and the unfolding of life, we step into the unknown with confidence, with excitement, and with the knowledge that every new experience is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to evolve. So close this door to fear. Release your grip on the need for certainty. Embrace the unknown with open arms. Step forward into the uncertainty of life, knowing that in doing so, you are opening the door to a world of infinite possibilities. The unknown is not something to fear. It is the very place where life's greatest gifts await. And when you stop fearing it, you will find that the greatest adventure of all is waiting just beyond the door you've been afraid to open. At the core of our ability to close the doors that allow fear and anxiety into our lives lies one simple yet profound truth: the power of presence. We are often so consumed by thoughts of the past or future that we forget the only moment that truly exists is now. Our minds become cluttered with worries, expectations, and distractions, and in this constant mental noise we lose touch with the most powerful tool we have, the present moment. When we are not fully present, we open ourselves up to the demons of anxiety, regret, and fear. These demons find their way into our lives when we are either dwelling on what has happened or anticipating what might happen, leaving us disconnected from the only thing we can truly control, the present. Presence is not something you can plan for, not something you can schedule or force. It is a state of being that emerges when you stop trying to escape the moment, when you cease fighting what is happening right now. When you practice presence, you accept life as it is without judgment or resistance. In this acceptance, there is freedom. You no longer waste energy worrying about the future or replaying the past. Instead, you come into alignment with the flow of life. This connection with the present is what allows you to fully experience life, rather than merely observe it from a distance. The demons of anxiety and fear thrive in the spaces between the past and the future. They are fueled by our worries about what could happen, what might go wrong, and what we could have done differently. When we allow ourselves to be consumed by these thoughts, we lose sight of the present moment. We step out of the flow of life, out of the current of what is, and instead become lost in a mental fog that clouds our perception. We stop being aware of the beauty around us, the possibilities in front of us, and the relationships that are unfolding in real time. Presence, in its purest form, is a state of mindfulness. It requires us to engage with the world as it is, without the filter of our anxieties, judgments, or expectations. It means fully experiencing what is happening, whether it is something joyful or challenging, and embracing it without trying to change it or run away from it. This doesn't mean that we must be passive or complacent in the face of difficulties, but rather that we approach life from a place of acceptance and openness. When we are present, we are free from the burdens of past mistakes and future fears. We no longer let the weight of what was or the uncertainty of what could be cloud our judgment or limit our actions. The practice of presence allows us to break free from the cycle of worry that so often controls our lives. It is easy to get caught in a spiral of overthinking, constantly replaying past interactions or obsessing over possible outcomes. But in doing so, we miss the richness of the moment at hand. When we focus on the present, we are able to engage more fully with the people and experiences that are right in front of us. We stop worrying about how things should be and start embracing them as they are. This is where real connection happens, when we are fully present with ourselves and others without distraction or interference from the past or future. The demons of fear and anxiety are not only fed by our lack of presence, they are diminished by it. When we are present, we create space for peace and clarity. We stop running from discomfort, and instead we face it head-on with the knowledge that the only way out is through. When we fully experience a moment, we realize that it does not define us. We are not prisoners of any one moment, and we are not controlled by what has happened before or what might come next. We are simply here in this moment, free to choose our response and our path. The power of presence also lies in its ability to ground us in the reality of our lives. When we are mindful, we stop chasing after things that don't matter, and we begin to focus on what truly brings us peace and fulfillment. We become more attuned to our inner selves and to the world around us. This connection with the present moment allows us to live with intention, to move through life with purpose, and to make choices that align with our deepest values. It is only by living in the present that we can truly step into our own power and create the life we want to experience. So, to close the door to the demons of anxiety and fear, we must cultivate the practice of presence. We must learn to let go of our attachment to the past and our worry about the future. We must bring ourselves back to the now, to the only moment where life truly exists. When we do this, we are no longer at the mercy of external circumstances or internal turmoil. We are simply here, fully alive, fully engaged, and fully aware. And in this awareness we find the freedom to live our lives in alignment with our deepest truths without the shadows of fear or regret clouding our path. Presence is the key to living a life of peace, power, and possibility. The fifth and final door that opens to the demons in our lives is the door of self-doubt and negative self-talk. This is a door that many of us unknowingly leave open, inviting the demons of insecurity, shame, and fear to walk right in. Self-doubt is one of the most powerful forces that can prevent us from stepping into our fullest potential. It whispers to us, convincing us that we are not enough, that we are not capable, and that we are unworthy of success, love, or happiness. This voice, if left unchecked, can become deafening, drowning out our inner wisdom, our true potential, and the vast array of possibilities that lie before us. Self-doubt often originates from our early experiences and the messages we received growing up. It comes from the judgments of others, from comparisons, and from the false narratives that we internalize about who we are. Perhaps it is the criticism we faced from authority figures or peers, or the times we failed and believed that failure defined us. These experiences form the foundation of the doubts we carry with us into adulthood. But the truth is, these doubts are not who we are. They are merely stories we have told ourselves, stories that have been shaped by external influences and our own fears. The more we identify with these stories, the more we give power to the demons that wish to keep us small, insignificant, and fearful. The voice of self-doubt is deceptive. It often masquerades as caution, as a voice of reason that seeks to protect us from failure. But this voice is not rooted in truth, it is rooted in fear. It convinces us that if we step out of our comfort zone, if we dare to pursue something bigger than ourselves, we will fail or fall short in some way. It tells us that we are not good enough, not smart enough, not talented enough. And because we listen to this voice, we begin to shrink. We play smaller than we are. We hold back from pursuing our dreams, from expressing our creativity, from showing up fully in our lives. But here's the truth: self-doubt is not a reflection of who you truly are. It is not an indication of your capabilities or your worth. It is simply a lie, a story that you have accepted as your reality. The voice of self-doubt seeks to convince you that you are less than you are, that you are not capable of achieving what you desire. But deep down, you know the truth: you are far more capable, resilient, and powerful than you give yourself credit for. Every time you listen to that voice of doubt, you give away your power. You allow it to control your actions, your decisions, and your life. But the moment you recognize that this voice is not truth, that it is just a collection of false beliefs, you regain your power. The key to closing this door to self-doubt is not in trying to eliminate the voice entirely, but in changing how you relate to it. The voice will always be there, whispering its doubts and fears. But when you stop identifying with it, when you stop believing that it is the truth of who you are, you free yourself from its grip. You can choose to acknowledge it, to notice it, but you no longer need to let it control your choices. You can instead choose to step forward, to take action, and to trust in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. Self-doubt thrives when we live in the past or in the future. It feeds on the mistakes we've made and the imagined failures that lie ahead. But the moment we bring ourselves into the present, When we focus on what we are capable of in this moment, we shift the energy. We stop worrying about what we can't control, and we start focusing on what we can do right now. It's in this moment, in the present, that our power lies. And the more we take action in the face of doubt, the more we realize that we are capable of far more than we ever imagined. One of the most empowering ways to overcome self-doubt is to recognize and celebrate our small wins. Each step we take, no matter how small, is evidence of our growth, our ability, and our courage. When we focus on our successes, even the tiniest ones, we begin to rewrite the story of who we are. We shift our narrative from one of limitation and fear to one of empowerment and possibility. We begin to see ourselves as the capable, resilient individuals that we are, and with each new step we strengthen our belief in ourselves. Another crucial step in overcoming self-doubt is to surround ourselves with people who support and believe in us. We are often influenced by the energy of those around us, and when we are surrounded by people who lift us up, who see our potential, and who encourage us to pursue our dreams, it becomes much easier to believe in ourselves. These people remind us of who we are when we forget, and they help us see beyond our doubts to the truth of our own capabilities. To close the door to self-doubt is to take ownership of your narrative. It is to choose to step into the fullness of who you are, knowing that you are enough, just as you are. It is to stop allowing the demons of fear, insecurity, and limitation to control your life. When you do this, you open the door to self-empowerment, to the recognition of your own strength, and to the infinite possibilities that await you. You are worthy, you are capable, you are enough. And once you close the door to self-doubt, you will find that the world is yours to create.